This is Garrett Fry, the 3D digital map painting sequence lead for the construction site sequence. We're taking a look at shot 633. So let's go ahead and play that. So you can see we start out high and we are ending low inside this construction site here. And it's kind of cool because it has a really narrow passageway here, and then it kind of opens out here to the left. And you see a lot of really cool markings on the ground from these earth moving equipment. So the feedback that we have for this shot is to add in more construction site materials into this area here. So you have a couple of different options. So like at the end of this shot, you have a lot more space to play with in this area here. It's kind of a really interesting perspective, but the things that you're putting in there are going to be like pretty close to camera. And so you're going to want to make sure that you really just nail the perspective on these objects that you place into this area. The cool thing is that you get to see what the perspective of these objects are. So like this one here is taller than this one, and this one is just turned a little bit. And so you can learn a lot about perspective from working on these kinds of shots, because you have different objects, all slightly different perspectives because they're rotated in different areas, all adhering to this ground plane right here. And its perspective. And so that's really kind of cool to be able to have that as reference within the shot. And then you can put things in here that really make a lot of sense. So make sure that you're putting things here that look appropriate. Like this area here, it looks like it's kind of a storage area where these containers are being used. And so you really can put a lot of stuff in here. There's already pieces of wood, so you can really just kind of go wild with the kind of stuff that needs to go in here. As for the stuff that's up here in this shot, there's probably some things that you want to do to keep this pathway clear, but there are some things that you can do in this area here or in this area, or you can really just kind of block this area off and say that this earth moving equipment has been coming up to this point and then placing things right here in this area here. So you can do quite a bit with playing with this and do some really interesting things. You do need to make sure that when you're placing stuff that it's wet and it has a feeling of being wet. So you can see that there's little puddles here. And the wood here has kind of a sense of feeling like there's a little bit of wetness to it, like it's not all the way dry. And so, and I think you'll be able to see that when you put wood in here and you compare it against that wood, it's not going to feel the same. So this wood here is just a little more saturated. It's a little more splotchy with some dark patches, which is going to be the wet pieces of the wood that haven't dried out yet. This container here has a big wet spot on it. And so those kind of things are really nice visual cues that make it so that your things that you're adding into this shot are really going to sit in nicely. Before you jump into your shot, it's a good idea to review the library of construction site materials. Do a bunch of quick matte painting tests by dragging photos into your shot and doing quick integrations. You will soon be able to discern the appropriate reference you should use for your shot.